Fake records.
Hey, welcome everyone. College football trash talk with Greg and James. This is our 20th, maybe. I don't know how many we've shot, but man, it's been amazing. And we're getting down to the wire. And we had some amazing games last week. Our first 12-team playoff games. A lot to talk about. Greg, we've got a lot to talk about this week, man. We've got those 4 games that we had last week. We'll talk about home field advantage. Injuries going into the games this week. Is there any significant injuries? The 12-team playoff. I'm hearing rumblings that it already needs to be changed. We'll get into that. And let's just get right into it, brother. How are you, man?
I'm great.
Merry Christmas to you. I hope you had a
Merry
great
Christmas.
holiday, bro.
Yes, likewise to you. I hope you guys had a great one as we did.
Oh, my God. We were just, we did. We went to Christmas Mass, and we came home. We opened up presents and ate a lot of food and had a couple cocktails.
We definitely did that. We couldn't hold the fort down here, so we ended up opening up Christmas Eve so those kids could stay up longer instead of asking questions about weighing the presents, measuring it. I know which what is, who's that. I was like, too many voices in the room. I'm like, let's just do tonight. Surprise, surprise, surprise. And then it actually worked out better, even though I was up till like 2 a.m. building stuff. But we had fun. The boys had a great one.
You built, it fell apart already, right, after you built it?
Man, it's standing loud and proud, man. It looks good. My kid, he was...
How many screws and how many things were left over after you finished?
0.
Honest.
I had, they send extra in the baggage. It's just the A to Z, everything numbered and alphabetized. So I did better at that than I do picking games. Let's put it that way.
Well, you know what? I mean, it was such, our 12-team playoff, first time this has happened. There was a few firsts. Number one, this is the first time we have a 12-team playoff. Number 2, this first time that Ohio State, Notre Dame, Penn State, and I believe Texas has had games this far in the season at home. Yeah. And they were home field for all the teams. Now, let's get into it. Okay, we had Notre Dame and Indiana, okay? And a little bit of an Indiana rivalry game. In state, the weather was cold. But you know what? I don't think that affected anybody. They're used to that. And so that's a game that I won. You went with Indiana. I went with Notre Dame. And I feel that the score was not as close as the game. It was 27-17. And, there's a lot of people that are already questioning the playoff. They're already questioning if Indiana should have been in there instead of like South Carolina, Alabama, or even an Ole Miss, or even in Miami. So, I have my thoughts on that. Greg, what is your thoughts when you sit back and you watch the first game, which was on a Friday night game, and I'm thinking that from my point of view, I thought Indiana was going to come out and be able to really move the ball, and they weren't, and they didn't. Give me your thoughts on that, man. It was so basically at the half, it was 17-3. Yeah. And I think Indiana scored a late touchdown or whatever, but I think it was late in the game. The game was already over.
Yeah.
So, give me your thoughts on that.
Well, first off, I think that, regardless of what's been the chatter, and it is chatter in regards to the playoff system, how it's been going, questionable about who should have and who shouldn't have been there. I think it's more along the lines that this has been everything and better since last year's 4-team playoff. So for me, the 12-team is definitely setting the bar. We're getting better. I think, there's so much new changes to the game itself and to the playoff system and the brackets. And I find that having the 12-team bracket has been everything that we built up for to make up matchups and going having these late season matchups are bringing football back to the status in these big competition, big game moments. And I love it. I personally think it's achieved with the 12-team playoff setup a much better scenario and moving forward, because we know that there is chatter about it going to impossible 16 teams. It is talk. I like the 12-team. I like who they picked. I like who they chose. I think Indiana specifically in regards to the playoff system, I think they earned that shot and they deserve the title to get into that bracket. I felt that, they may have fallen under the spotlight because I think they were under the microscope quite a bit, and whether they were, even manageable to be that competitive. They fizzled out towards the end, unfortunately. I definitely think you stated it best. They weren't Notre Dame. Let's give them more credit where credit is due. I think Notre Dame showed up and now is at the level and exceeding my expectation, which I kind of felt that they were subpar going in for how the schedule lined out for them. I didn't really see a big game moment, like a throttle beating on anybody until later in the season when it counts most in December. So
let me ask you a question. If you had to, so say for instance, you were the committee, all right, and you're sitting down and you're part of the board. When you looked at Indiana and you looked at an Alabama or a South Carolina, was the hottest team going on right there. Do you feel that in the future, now I'll give you a hypothetical. Do you think in the future that, because they're already talking about this already, that instead of having 11 wins, let's put in the best teams. So let's look at the best 12 teams. Do we really think that Indiana should have been part of that? And do you think that an Alabama, South Carolina, or an Ole Miss or Miami could have beaten Miami?
Listen, I think Indiana was a great team going into the playoff in the final round.
I'm asking you, based on looking at the eye test, do you think that Indiana should have been there over Miami, South Carolina, and Alabama? Honestly.
To be each his own, I would have liked Miami personally to kind of be in there. I do think that because of what Cam Ward did throughout the season, but they choked at the end. The Brom, he from Syracuse, they just showed up and they embarrassed them. They beat them, and they were an underdog and they went in. They showed up. They lost some crucial games towards the end, which they should have won, and they didn't. So they made their own bed. I would have ridden with Indiana, give them flip of the coin. I think they won and they deserve to be there, but they lost out.
So again, though, you think Indiana is better than Alabama and
Alabama had two embarrassing losses. Okay, Alabama losses. No, they beat South Carolina, but in the latter second, they lost to Oklahoma, who was not even ranked. Oklahoma beat them significantly. I mean, 21-3, I think it was. So either way, they lost against teams they should have destroyed.
Yeah.
Bama is an incredible franchise. They're an incredible organization. South Carolina, look, them, Miami, Bama, to each is their own. I think the committee got it right. I liked who was in there. I mean, look, by the luck of all things, Clemson got in by Cade Klubnik. He willed them in this game, this bracket, which they lost to Texas, but he kept them in the game. But it's a team, not an individual sport.
Well, okay, so we're all going to reflect after the season's over. Everyone's going to sit, the smoke's going to clear. And then I think that the decision moving forward from the committee, I think will change a little bit. I do believe that I think wins count, of course. But I also think that, okay, out of those wins, who did you beat? And I think that is going to be a different look next year on that. I'm interested to see, like, for instance, next year, if we have the same situation where we got an Indiana that's 11-2 or whatever, and there's a team that's really hot at the moment, like a South Carolina, and then who's the committee going to go with? I'm really interested to see that. And I think that it really is something to talk about because let's be honest, all of the games that have happened, and we're going to move on and talk about all of them. I think that there was nothing close. Let's move on to the next.
Yeah, but hey, let me just say, you know what? When it comes to the big show in this big playoff, those teams that haven't been there, the Boise State, the SMU, it's like Indiana. I mean, it's great because it's changing the dynamic of the game and the look.
But Greg, I get it. But
like,
people
look, you would have
okay. Let me go back to what happened last year with TCU.
You and I are not on the committee board, and just the fact that you think one way and I think a different way is why we're here to talk about it.
Yeah.
But I think you know what? Your opinion is your opinion. Like you think Ohio State's the best team in
My
the country.
opinion's correct all the time, by the
Yeah.
way.
Well, you know what?
So let's
Because
move
you
on to
picked
another game
the favorites. You picked the home
that I
dog.
won. Let's move on to another game that I won, and I'm going to prove my point. Is SMU, who you were on all year long, smacked you in your face. They went to Penn State, and two things I want to talk about. Number one, home field advantage that Notre Dame had, cold, really wasn't significant for Indiana because you live in Indiana. But SMU coming up and playing in the cold, and let me tell you something. I feel bad for that quarterback. I mean, he played.
Garbage.
I could not believe how bad he played.
Garbage.
Penn State showed up, and it was cold. It was cold. And Penn State won. That was a game that I won 38-10. So I'm getting back to this now. Do we feel that SMU should have been in the playoff?
Yeah, I do. I think they earned the right to be there. They played phenomenal. They played great with the freshman quarterback. Look, the stakes were high. Look, the cold was significant. That's where it comes in that home field. Carter, Penn State's defense, they schemed so wonderfully. They were just, if they play like that, they're scary. I mean, it's there. I mean, we're going to talk about the games that just happened. And let me tell you, Penn State, they are there. They changed my opinion. They played like a full team, you know, and I love watching them. SMU, they looked as cold as it felt, and they were just at the entire game.
It was pretty cold.
It was cold. I mean, they looked terrible. They looked miserable. They looked uncomfortable. Their quarterback was flustered. He couldn't make decisions. You know what? The first drive, he was driving the ball. He could have ran for a first down, and he opted to throw it to the tight end to make a touchdown. This is not the highlight reel. Yes, A for effort. We all, as a quarterback, we would have done things and not make it an individual like moment for himself. But he should have ran and got the first down and got 4 more tries. So from there, it went downhill, and it was over. It was over. Like Penn State looked dominant.
Yeah, that was a big play at the very beginning of the game, and I believe that SMU, they were down like the 10-yard line or something.
Yeah, they were in the red zone.
Yeah, the big play, meaning, like you said, him running the sideline, he probably had another 5 yards that he could have gotten, went out of bounds, got a first down.
Just on pure
really
athleticism, he
kept
could have
the
got
drive going. And I believe that was probably one of the biggest plays of the game because, and like you said, when you're starting off and you're playing on the road, you always want to take the crowd out of it. Okay, of course, Penn State had the whiteout. It was freezing, and they were moving the ball. And then you make that split-second decision, and he threw an interception. And I really think that he really never recovered. And and then Penn State's defense played really, really well. Again, this was a home field advantage for another team.
Yeah.
38-10, and really, it was an absolute blowout.
They couldn't do nothing. They couldn't run. They couldn't throw. They couldn't. Their defense was dominant, and the tide turned. I mean, the moment that he made that mistake, he was out of the game mentally. I thought personally. And then I started to think about it. I'm like, if I was a coach, would I pull him? Because he is a freshman. This is like learning by mistakes, and his mistakes are going to make him mature for next season. He's going to be better than he was this year. Hopefully he doesn't go through a sophomore slump. But here, he's surrounded by great talent. They were in a very major mainstream matchup. Penn State. SMU, first year in the ACC, they did incredible like Indiana did in the Big 12. So I'm proud of what they did.
Indiana Big 10.
Yeah, the Big 10. They made a name for themselves. And I think SMU deservingly had the right to be there. And, unfortunately, hey, it sets the bar high for them next year.
So let me go over a couple things. He threw 3 interceptions. I think like you do. I think that there's nothing wrong with it's like when I used to coach some of the kids, Moses would whatever. I would say, "Hey Moses, come over here and sit down. Just take a moment, reflect, take a look at what's going on." Maybe the game was moving too fast for him.
Yeah.
And but anyway, so he threw 3 interceptions. The score was 28-0
Yeah.
at halftime.
Yeah. And that's when it's mental. It's a mental game. It's 90% mental and 10% physical. And the fact of the matter, they have all the assets. They are a track team. And that was what they counted on to use and expose Penn State on there. But their defense and their scheme and their blitz scheme, I mean, their coverage, they just, top to bottom, Penn State, because SMU, don't discredit what they did on the field and for the season. I think they earned the right to be there. I think the stage was so big, and I think their quarterback, I thought they were going to maybe put Preston Stone back in there because he was there to support them. Moving forward, this is about growth and maturity, and I think growing pains, and I think he's going to learn a lot from it. But yeah, Penn State dominate from top to bottom, beginning.
Well, Greg, you know what? This kind of stems a question. Say, for instance, that you bring in a guy and you kind of nurture him and you kind of bring him along and whatever. I mean, the way the transfer portal is going on right now, I mean, you want to stay loyal to kids and you want to bring them along, whatever, but there's no guarantee that this kid's going to be around. There's no guarantee that any player is going to be around. I mean, we can
dive into that rabbit hole, which we've done. But the thing is, it's like, it's Duke is offering $4 million for a quarterback now. I mean, it's everybody's diving in. I mean, there's this fan stack that our fans take where people can contribute money towards people's NIL to sponsor a kid, to divert his attention from one to another. They want these kids to go. Malik Jefferson, who just got to Duke, is leaving Duke and now is talking, is he going to Wisconsin? Is he going to Mississippi State? I mean, it's a shuffleboard, and it's kind of like you and I have shared a lot of conversation that we've heard out in the world with Deion Sanders. It's like, look, 25 kids come in and we pick 10 because everybody else is going to go in the portal. I got kids that are leaving certain schools and people, they're 5-star out of high school and they're like, why are they leaving? Is it about the money? I mean, they're getting all these perks, with their family, travel, medical, picking whether they could play or not play. They have too much decision making, and it is a business, but it's like there are off the field issues. A lot of these kids are leaving because their behavior is not something they condone, and they're like, if they're doing, PEDs, or if they're smoking marijuana by choice, but there's like, hey, you can't do that. That's against our team rules. That's a violation. That's not our code. Where, they're leaving to go, even though they have high status, the other schools are paying. They don't care. So there's a lot of politics.
When you brought that up, and it's a business and it's becoming that. And here's one of the things that Nick Saban said. Nick Saban said, if coaches are under contract, then players who are signing the NIL deals should be under contract as well. Meaning, they're going to transfer, you're going to break the contract, so it's all fair. So I kind of agree with that. If that's where we're going, I believe that it should be a contract with the school, and your NIL money will be paid if you're there or whatever. And so I think that's kind of where it's going to go.
Well, yeah. I think there needs to be a cap. I think across the board, all Division I football teams need to have a cap, but there also has to be an incentive plan, be incentivized. If you stay longer, you get more money. It needs to be structured accordingly, not like the quarterback money between 1 and 1.5 is, it's a high, the position calls for that. But it's like, man, some kids are getting $2 million. Arch Manning is getting $3 million and he ain't playing. Our Quinn is getting 2.3 to 2.8, but then now Duke is like, our other schools are offering $4 million to bring in a quarterback. It's like,
but what was the Michigan guy get? 10 million?
He got a tremendous amount of money. I think
10 million.
Like over $10 million at Bright Underwood.
So,
and he left LSU, which he verbally committed over almost a year ago, and then he went to Michigan back home.
It's called money, baby.
Money. And that's what's changing the game. Yes, I think that college kids deserve to be incentivized for their likeness, their name and likeness. Like, Johnny Football came in when he was taking money under the table. Now they made it legal, but he brought action, but he delivered. Money talks.
So we had 2 games, Now let's move on to the this was a big game, and It was just a great setup because of the two quarterbacks, Clemson and Texas. They have, and I watched Moses and I watched the that little clip that they did when they were in high school, back and forth in Texas, and
my backyard at Texas Stadium.
Yeah. So Texas and Clemson played. Clemson won the ACC. That's why they were in. They played themselves in. And then Texas lost against Georgia. And they got the and they were in. Of course, there was nothing that was gonna happen that was gonna keep Texas out. That's for sure. Texas ended up winning 38-24. Here's the thing that I don't know if I was surprised that much, but you got to remember that Texas, their running backs played amazing. If you look at the stats here, I'll give it to you real quick. I mean, it was almost 300 yards rushing.
Yeah.
260. Yeah, it was about 300 yards.
Yeah.
300 yards.
300 yards.
Blue had 146. Is it Windsor?
Wisner.
Wisner had 110.
Yeah.
And then they brought Gibson in and had 35. Wingo they brought in at 7. So, I mean, with that said, I mean, that's what kind of, I looked at the game and I was like, wow, that was, because every time Clemson got close, it looked like Texas just would run a play and gain like 60 yards on a run.
Yeah.
So let me ask a question real quick. So I when I looked at the game, I knew Clemson wasn't going to have enough. I knew it was one of those teams that backed in. Texas, I thought, was just strong. Let me ask you a question. There's been some injuries on the offensive line. What do you think? Is there any injuries that you look at with Texas? We got Williams on the offensive line. Wisner is questionable. Bond is questionable. Williams, the DB, and then, of course, we knew the running backs were gone. But how significant is Williams on the offensive line?
Well, look.
And Bond.
First off, I'm going to back it up for a minute. And just so you know, and you know code on Saturday, don't text me when my team is playing. I am off the book. I am not talking, and you guys are trying to blow me up, trying to fuel a fire, get some spark out of me. It ain't happening. I'm zoned. I'm watching my team. I'm taking
But it does work. It does work, because I know that you
don't ever do that again. You know better.
Bro, I'll do it all the time. What are you talking about?
So, A, don't ever do that. Second of all, Stark is creating the next generation and the new. I mean, what he's done is spoken for itself. I mean, he has won back-to-back years. He won the Big 12, leaving the Big 12, going to SEC, is like top 5 most of the season. He gets into the SEC championship. We got we learning curves. I mean, we definitely learned. We battled injuries. Obviously, we lost CJ Baxter, our top running back at the beginning of the season. We lost a couple others, that are freshmen and stuff, but we got depth. That's what Stark's doing. Offensive line, they got depth. We just won for best tackle offensive lineman with the Lombardi Trophy, and we got the Thorpe Award winner for the best cornerback in the country. Our defense is top 3 in the country, right behind Ohio State, who has been, as of the gate, we said, on both sides of the ball, Ohio State is there. But the thing that Texas has is depth. They got 1, 2, 3, all 5 stars. Their Coach Flood, offensive line coach, is incredible. His recruiting is off the charts. Now we're in the game. So I didn't have any problems about Banks Jr. being injured in the last couple of games, SEC championship, because I knew they had backup, and they've showed up and they played pretty well. A couple of local kids or sophomores up there. So, they're 3 rows deep. So I'm not worried about that. Obviously, our running game, Wisner is a sophomore. I mean, incredible. Jadon Blue, he struggled a past few games. So it was a shining moment for him in this game against Clemson. They were a 13.5-point favorite going in at home, against Clemson. And the quarterback was the selling ticket with Cade Klubnik and Quinn Ewers, which was great. Quinn looked dialed in. He just looked focused. I was hoping to see Arch a little bit more, but this is Quinn's last hurrah. So, hey, top to bottom, they have big play moments, and they got Wingo involved really big because he's a big dude for a freshman. He's 6'4", 6'5". He's like Ryan Williams, I mean, he's big. Jeremiah Smith. They're just incredible freshmen out there, but our defense really solidified. That game wasn't as close as the score ended up being. I mean, Cade, he really willed that team into trying to compete.
No. It was close. It wasn't. Because, yes, it was.
300 yards in rushing.
They cut it to 7.
They have big play moments.
They cut it to 7. So the score was 28-10. Then it was 31-17. Then Clemson scored 31-24. Okay,
right. And
then Texas scored again. But let me tell you something. That was probably the closest game out of all the games, because Clemson did cut it in the fourth quarter to 7, and then on the next series, Texas went down and scored. I mean, it wasn't like an absolute blowout like all the other games, but
yeah.
But Clemson, listen, Clemson always a tough team.
Yeah.
But so that's a game you won, of course, because you went with Texas. Of course, you won. So it was 2-1. Now, let's get to the Victory Bell game. The Ohio State Buckeyes had the Tennessee Volunteers coming in, and well, let me tell you something. I I got to be honest with you. So we start off, and in the first quarter, if it wasn't for that ridiculous, stupid interception they called in the end zone, it should have never been an interception, we probably would have been up 28-0 in the first quarter. 21-0 in the first quarter. They scored 10 points, so it was 21-10 going in at halftime. And then we scored 21 points in the second half to their 7, 42-17. Yeah. Oh my God!
Yeah,
we put an ass whipping on them
for sure.
I think it was the first series where he comes to the sideline. I don't know if you saw that. We cracked his helmet wide open.
Wow.
Yeah, he went to the sideline and they showed it how it separated and it busted right wide open.
Wow.
That's how we do. And so I mean, the quarterback, I can't even attempt his name, but he had 104 yards passing.
This is Nico.
Will Howard was 24 of 29 for 311 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he had 1 interception. Should have never been called. That's what I'm telling you about the refs. The refs are going to make a mistake. It's going to cost somebody a game. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah.
Because some of the shit that I'm seeing is just unbelievable. It really is. Okay, but let's get back to the game. Ohio State lost to Michigan, 13-10. And everybody in Ohio, every Ohio State fan was beside themselves. Me too.
Yeah.
I went off. I said Ryan Day should be fired.
Yep. He was giving a lot of scrutiny.
So we had some time to reflect, and we'll do this on the next show, but I will guarantee you this. I'm going to go to the Rose Bowl game. My son and I are going to go. And I'm going to go, College Football Trash Talk. We're going to get some interviews. We're going to talk to some people. And I'm going to talk to a lot of Ohio State fans, and I'm going to give you the scenario. Would you rather beat Michigan and lose in the national championship, or lose to Michigan and win the Natty? I'm going to come back with those stats, and I'm going to tell you that there's a lot. You'll be surprised on the answer. You really will.
Well, here, the thing about that game is like it was, but back everybody was just hammering, get rid of Ryan Day, and that's the thing. The team that showed up, that prepared for this game, was the team that they expected to see against Michigan. And
what
happened was you saw pure domination in an environment that was fan delivery. Tennessee traveled well. Ohio State delivered the environment.
Did they travel well? Did you see how many Tennessee fans were there?
Yeah. They wouldn't even
let. It was unbelievable.
Did you see SMU and Penn State? They put the band up in the top upper section. I mean, they put them in the worst section.
One thing I want to do is I want to give the Tennessee fans a hand clap here, because you know what? You guys traveled well. You guys came up and you saw the ass whipping. A lot of people were leaving in the second quarter, but that's okay because you knew the ass whipping was going to happen.
They just went to go take advantage of Columbus, Ohio, and drink.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, what I saw is that Ohio State dominated top to bottom. They were the most dominant game and team that I witnessed. I thought their defense, they shut the running game down. Nico was looking like Jenkins from the SMU quarterback standpoint. I thought Ohio State defensive back. I mean, they lived up to the bar and to the level that everybody's expected them to be. They play like a national champ contender. They deserve to continue forth. And, that's the team that we want to see in all areas, all aspects.
So here's what a lot of people were saying is that Ryan Day has this, he's always saying that Michigan's built a team to beat Ohio State, meaning in the trenches. We're going to be physical. We're going to just beat them up on the offensive defensive line, right? So here's what happened. Ryan Day started hearing that, and it got to his head. So you know what he said? He goes, I'm going to show them that we are as physical as they are. Instead of using our assets that we have on the outside, getting Jeremiah Smith on a sweep or a screen or whatever, we decided that, hey, we're going to play the ground and pound, and we're going to, the old days, a yard in I don't know what they used to call it, but a yard in a cloud of dust. No, you don't. You don't have to do that anymore. The only thing we have to prove is nothing. You have to prove something to yourselves. Who gives a shit about Michigan? The only thing you got to do, you got to put on the football team that's going to be prepared and do what we've been doing all year. Yeah. Light it up, throw some balls deep, get some pass interferences, And so I think that's what happened. We went into the whole thing with Tennessee like, hey, like you said, Greg, let's put on the team that we in essence we paid for, $20 million.
Yeah.
And let him run, because if you throw a ball up, a one-on-one with Jeremiah Smith, I guarantee you 99% he's going to come down with the ball.
Yeah.
Or there's going to be an interference.
Yeah.
Here's the thing that I was puzzled about Tennessee. I get the fact that here's my thing about Tennessee. Tennessee, I believe, was going to say, okay, we're going to make you one-dimensional. Okay, we're going to make it so we're going to put up the line a little bit like what Michigan did. And they kept saying all week, the defensive line for Tennessee, man, I give them the whole, they're gonna win that, right? And what happened was they were going on the corners, they were going, man, there's no way that Mbuka and Jeremiah Smith and Tate that you can take these guys one-on-one. You just can't.
You can't.
And they did. And they did it the whole game.
Yeah, which they never made adjustments, and they got toasted for it. Their offensive line deserves the credit because they gave Will Howard all the time.
Our offensive line
looked great.
Played really well.
Yeah,
really
everybody.
Well.
They showed up because they want to shut everybody up. All you Buckeye fans that were saying, get rid of Day, y'all are a mess after that Michigan loss. Boy, they took that to heart, and they came out and wore it on their sleeve, and they just put a beat down on Tennessee.
And I think it's set up. Okay, let's move forward because what a great week. I mean,
it's been awesome.
I mean, you and I both, I'm in absolute heaven, bro. This is my time of the year. I like college basketball. I've been watching the NBA a little bit. I'm not the NFL. You're a big NFL guy. I watch sometimes, but bro, this is me. I'm in my element. I'm the happiest dude in the world. I watched it with my son. And every time they scored, my son and I were hugging each other. It was just it was such a moment,
Yeah.
It almost makes me get emotional, just, really does.
Yeah, you like when you win, because when you lose, you're pissed off.
It's that, but having that moment, of course, and having that moment with your son, man, dude, it was special. It was fucking special.
Everybody knows how much you love your team.
Hey, so let's move forward. Now we're moving into the bye teams that got the bye. And now we'll talk about that too, because I don't agree with a couple teams that had the bye. I think it should have been shuffled. But, so here's the thing. Tuesday, We got the first game, and it's at the Fiesta Bowl in Arizona. We got Penn State and Boise State.
Yeah.
So let's go. Hold on one second here. We got Penn State, right? We got Boise.
Yeah.
I know you've been Boise State the whole year.
Yeah.
And so right now, who you got?
Wow. The matchup is, I mean, after watching Penn State, it's scary what their defense.
Hold on. Real quick. The weather's different.
Yeah.
It's not going to be cold. It's going to be maybe a fast track 4:30 game in Arizona. Okay, so I just thought I'd throw that out there and before you pick.
It doesn't matter. I mean, I think, weather is different. You know, it's more in favor of Boise State, obviously. Quarterback, Penn State's got the better one, in my opinion. Running back, I'm going with Boise State, obviously. But I just think that defense is stacked and scary.
Stop it right now. If you pick Penn State, I swear to God, that's really uncool, bro.
Bro.
You better stick with your team.
And you know what? The Penn State, and after the shit beatdown they put on SMU, I'm going to go with Boise State like they beat Oklahoma with those trickery plays. So watch a lot of schemes, a lot of unexpected fake punts, onside kicks. They're going to have to outsmart them because I don't think they can beat Penn State deeply on the field. I think Ashton, they're going to try to you're going to run it? We dare you. You're going to force them to throw. My heart's telling me Penn State's going to win. But I'm going to take Boise State as I've taken them all year. I think Penn State's just so dominant. So I'm sacrificing what I would feel, but I'm going to take Boise State and believe that Ashton's going to have to carry a lot on his back. With the quarterback, it's all the pressures on him to be the best man on the field. He's got to win MVP. So Boise State with a field goal. I mean, barely.
Well,
or it's just going to be a beatdown. A beatdown by Penn State.
Here's two things to think about here. Penn State looked great. Drew Aller in what was it, before the Ohio State game or whatever, he went down with a slight knee injury, okay? Now, remember this. The quarterback, the other quarterback that transferred out was in every package they had this year, okay? Yeah. So they had to kind of redo the playbook. Here's the thing. If Drew Aller goes down and they have to bring in the third string quarterback in essence.
Yeah, because the other kid just left in the portal.
There's going to be issues. And here's the only thing that's going to save is the two running backs from Penn State right now are balling. And I think defensively Penn State right now they're gelling. They're really putting it all together. I do believe that with the path that Penn State has, I think it was unfair. I think that they should have played Oregon instead of Ohio State. And Oregon, kind of got the short end of the stick, I believe. So anyway, I got Penn State. You got Boise. I think it's going to be a great game. Fiesta Bowl. It's one of my favorite. Ohio State's played a lot in the Fiesta Bowl. I just love the track. I love it. It looks great. It's 4:30 game. By halftime or whatever, third quarter, it's gonna be dark, and it's just a really, really, really good game. Okay, so we got the next one, which is the Sugar Bowl. We got Notre Dame playing Georgia. Now, if you want me to go first, I'll go first.
Got it.
Here's the thing. We really don't know the second string quarterback. The only thing that we do know is when Carson Beck from Georgia got injured, the second string quarterback came in and, he played well. He got him. There was a moment where they got that drive and they charged him up. Here's the issue, is that when you have a defensive coordinator that is going to scheme against him, and you have that and you have time to really, put a really good scheme together. He seems more of a runner than a passer. And so my thing is this. I really believe that Georgia's going to have problems. And here's the other thing. If Georgia's going to win, I'm going to say this right now, is the defense has to win the game, literally. And I'm talking a fumble recovery for a touchdown or a interception for a touchdown. I believe that Georgia's defense is going to have to win this game. I really do. I don't think that Georgia offensively is going to be able to put. They may. Here's the thing. Georgia may be more Georgia at the very beginning of the game just because of the hype and everybody's. I think when everything settles in, I think Notre Dame's defense is going to. They're going to take control, and I believe that it's going to be a close game. I believe that Notre Dame's going to win, but it's going to be close.
You believe Georgia's going to win?
I believe Notre Dame's going to win.
Okay, I just wanted to let you say it one more time so I can make sure I heard it correctly. Because Notre Dame, well, look at me. Smack! I'm not taking Notre Dame today. I've told you all year. I think they played underachievers. They played like the
it's
weakest
not about where
schedule.
You start. It's about where you're at.
Yeah, well, they've had an easy ride, okay? They're now coming together. I do have to give them credit where credit is due. I think they've now started to come together and start to live up to the expectation that is expected. The Notre Dame football team, their legend, their name, the hidden, just the football program from Lou Holt's era. I mean, this is what we want. This is every Notre Dame fan's dream for them to be playing in this game against a top-notch dog. And they are playing the Georgia Bulldogs. What better matchup? This is going to be a great battle. I expect a great competition, and the spread's only 2-point favorites, Georgia.
Wow.
So here's my thing. Georgia's defense, Texas, we saw them twice, so I've seen them. They're going to be mentally prepared. As you mentioned, Connor, the quarterback, a lot of pressure on him to lead. He's not a Carson Beck. Carson Beck is done. So Connor has got the reins.
He had surgery. He had surgery already, so he's out.
But I do think they have the talent, and the talent is if you got the guy to play field manager, get the ball to the right guy, let them run it, and dude, that running back Etienne, he just shows up on big games. This is a small little Minnie Mouse that shows up and makes you think that. They played Texas twice and beat us by Etienne alone. I mean, he had like 5 touchdowns, 400 yards or something. So I think they have all the talent on that side of the ball, both sides. So I think it's going to be good. I definitely appreciate where Notre Dame has finished the season to get to where they have gotten. Their running back Love, number 7, has just really showed up in the last few games. The unit, their defense is playing significantly strong. But I definitely think, regardless who's running the team, quarterback, generally, I think Georgia is going to win by a touchdown.
Okay. I think that's a good pick. And because, listen, the one thing that we got to do is we got to put a significance on the starting QB, as we've talked about the whole season. We've talked about injuries. We've talked about home field advantage, the importance of that. And it's proven, home field advantage in the playoffs, first 4 games, all home teams won. Okay. And it plays a big role in that. Then you got to move in as we move forward. We got to move into injuries. And Carson, I mean, he's been the guy all year. He had a bit of a tough spell. I think it was like 3 games. He threw like 9 interceptions. And so the new quarterback came in and just really gave him a spark. And then, Texas came in and clobbered him. When I'm telling you, knocked his helmet off. Yeah. And I truly believe this, that he had a concussion.
They knocked him into another dimension.
And they went over on the sideline and gave him some smelling salt or whatever. And they let him go back out. But I got to be honest, I didn't think that they were going to let him back in the game.
And they didn't, because Carson Beck came in and handed the ball to Etienne, and he scored a touchdown. They won the game.
So with that said, I think that Georgia's going to be limping in with injuries. That's pretty big, though. It's really big. And you're going to teach my boy how to slide feet first instead of going in there like that, because you're going to go in like the year before. I think it was Ohio State played Georgia. Yeah. And Harrison got tomahawked in the end zone by Georgia.
Yeah. Well,
it's those big hits that's going to cause, So listen, let's go move on to the Peach Bowl. And we got Texas and Arizona State. Arizona State had a bye. So they've been, they've been, sitting down, relaxing. And the only thing that I can tell you about Arizona State is, unfortunately, their number one receiver's down. Scadaboo is going to be, this could be one of those moments where they carry him off on his shoulders and he could be the guy. Texas's defense it's just too good, man. And the one thing is you cannot, listen, Arizona State, great year. Don't get me wrong. I'm not even saying anything.
Don't tell me you're going to go.
Texas is just, listen, I got to be a realist here.
Come on.
And I have to pick a team, listen, if I felt that there was any way that Arizona State was going to win, I would go with it. I would go with it, meaning the receiver came back. Their number one receiver's back. They're full. They've got a really talented team, and they're ready to go. Number one receiver goes out. Scadaboo, listen, Texas has played against some really amazing running backs. And Scadaboo's great. He's really a tremendous player. And the only thing I can say is if Arizona State gets a lead late, Scadaboo could be a problem, meaning he's the one that could essentially just get 3 yards, 5 yards, first down, 4 yards, 5 yards, first down. He could really kind of extend those plays. I don't see it happening. Unfortunately, I don't know what else to do. I'm just being a realist. I'm going with Texas.
Wow! After you just pushed me to take Boise State, I think you just to check the box, get the win. You want me? I take risk all year. That's why I drink every week. All right, you pick Cam Scadaboo and
listen. I wasn't so much. You were with Arizona State and Boise State.
Yeah, and SMU, but ride or die.
Okay,
I'm a ride or die.
Okay, and I respect that. But listen, I'm just being a realist.
You don't even pick Texas most of the year.
Great. Unless they're playing Oklahoma. If it was, what's the spread, by the way? Spread's
13.5.
How much?
Texas 13.5.
13.5. Okay. What does that tell you?
Well, all right. Now we know who you're riding my coattail.
Are you going to go Arizona State?
Yeah. You're riding my coattail on that one. So here we go. The thing is, you are right to pick Texas. I definitely believe on the field, across the board, they have all the elements of winning.
Every position is.
It's Cam Ironhead Haywood reinvented. Scadaboo is that kind of mold, that build. He runs through like a Mack truck. The problem, and that what they're going to do, they're going to try to run it right up the hole. But we have a great freshman middle linebacker in Hill. We have a great edge pressure with Trey. We got Colin Simmons, who won Freshman of the Year. We have great defense across the board. I'm scared. I didn't realize their number one receiver was out. I just think it's... My only problem with the committee on this is the Peach Bowl. It should have been the Fiesta, and the opposite. Penn State should have been in the Peach Bowl, Boise State. I don't know demographically why they did this. They cross-country them. But anyway, that's another conversation. I definitely think Texas is the dominant figure, obviously. But here's the thing. ASU's got a quarterback that can run the ball, throw the ball. He is a 1, 2, and 3 guy. He can run, pass, play. He can do anything. So they got great leadership, great quarterback. Receiver may be a little weak. Their defense is not suspect. They've been pretty good. I've always gone in the underdog and won games by landslides. They beat Iowa State, dominated them. Their defense is legit. I think it's going to be a closer game than the 2 touchdowns. I think it's going to be very much like the Clemson-Texas game towards the second half. I don't see Texas dominating the whole game. They have the ability. They can run and gun quickly. I think they have to set the tone and run that ball right down their throat and tire them out and use their skill receivers because they've got with Wingo, they've got Johnson, they're just deep across the board. Special.
You know what you could do? You could sum that up in 10 seconds. Texas is going to demolish Arizona State. Demolished.
from your mouth to God's ears, man.
No, bro, I'm sorry. Listen.
I'm all Texas, but I got to make sure Quinn's on his best. He can't have his ankle injury. He's going to be wearing the boot again.
Dude, okay, if you don't put Manning in, Manning puts 50 on him.
Yeah.
Come on, bro. Let's be.
They're going to run. And I'm just being real. I'm like, then it's getting this. We got to get through this game.
All right, so last game, we got the Rose Bowl, the historic Rose Bowl. We've got the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Oregon Ducks. Now, this is going to be a rematch of the game that happened earlier in the year when Ohio State went to Oregon. And Ohio State lost 32-31. Will Howard rushed, and if he would have slid 1 second earlier, we would have had a chip shot to win the game. So Ohio State then laid an egg with Michigan, came back, and we smoked Tennessee. So with that said, Greg, who are you going to go with? And you know what? You better be careful here, brother, because I know where you live.
Yes, you do. So here's the thing.
Go ahead.
Oregon has had the bye week, all right? OSU just played the best game in a big environment at home, and they're playing on the big stage. And this is going to be the battle of the Big Ten going forward to face the Texas, I hope. So, and they play at the Cotton Bowl. Whoever wins this plays the Cotton Bowl in my backyard. So, hey, you know what that could mean, a road dog ticket. So anyway, I think Oregon and Ohio State is going to be an incredible game, but their domination of what they did this past week against Tennessee was like, they set a tone. I mean, we got a 2.5. OSU is 2.5 point favorites over Oregon, the number 1 ranked team, and who they lost to by 1 point.
The spread was at 1.5, and now it's at 2.5.
2.5. So I'm going to go with the Mighty Ducks and Gabriel Dillon coming down here to pull an upset because I'm scared of Ohio State now because they are pissed off. You know what? You pissed the Ohio State Buckeyes off and all their fan base, and they have a statement to make. So they're coming down here, and I think I've supported Ohio State in a lot of, except when we battle Texas. But Oregon, this is a revenge game. My heart, like I said about Penn State and Boise State, my heart's going for Ohio State, but my head, I'm going to take Oregon just to make the matchup better because I'm not going to pick your team like you did my team. I go against it to make the battle different. So I'm going to take the Ducks and flying high.
Well, here's one quick thing, and then we're gonna close out. But the first Rose Bowl game was played in 1902, and traditionally over the last, I don't know how many years, it was always the Big Ten and the Pac-12. And Oregon traditionally was part of that. USC, there's always those classic Big Ten teams, Wisconsin and Ohio State, Michigan coming out, playing the Rose Bowl against UCLA, USC, Oregon, Washington. So it kind of feels like that, even though they're both in the Big Ten. But I do believe that Ohio State's had a good run against Oregon. Oregon's, I think, won the last 2 against Ohio State.
Yes, they have.
Where I think it was like 9-1 or something. And so, look, here's the thing that I think is going to be is, okay, so there's no cold weather.
Neutral site.
I believe it's going to be. It's going to be in the 30s, possibly 40s, like as far as scoring, maybe 42, 37, or maybe 45, 41 or 42. You know, I believe the Buckeyes are going to win, of course. And I believe that here's the thing that we've got to remember is we haven't really talked about Quentin, the running back with Ohio State, with Trevion Henderson and Quentin. We haven't really talked about him because the offensive line has been banged up, and they really haven't had like big games. Like going against Tennessee, we really ran the ball effectively. Meaning, I don't think we ran it a lot, but we ran it effectively. We had yardage that we didn't get against Michigan. So, you know, with that said, I think that let's just look at this real quick. Yeah, Trevion Henderson had 100. I mean, he had 80 yards. You know, which was let me see. What did real quick? What did we get from Trevion Henderson at 80? Will Howard had 37 yards rushing, by the way. Quinshon Judkins had 34. So 60, we had 150 yards rushing collectively, because that's what Buckeyes do. They play Trevion Henderson and they play Judkins.
Right.
They kind of even it up. And I think that's good because it keeps them fresh. But, with that said, Will Howard had 37 yards. Okay, let's pay attention to that. Will Howard had 37 yards rushing. It's going to be crucial for the next game. I believe that there's going to be a couple packages that is going to be a run, lead block from Henderson. It's going to be a run for Will Howard.
Yeah.
I believe he's going to, if he rushes for over
You're saying
yards.
RPOs for Howard because he's going to need it, because Dalen Gabriel, man, that kid is the mighty mouse. I mean, he drives people. He motivates people. Will Howard, he had an incredible game against Tennessee, but this is time. He can't. It's all on. Look, if he fails, it's on him. Dylan Gabriel, because he loves big play moments. He loves being the underdog. And that's what I think with the receiving corps. The defense is going to have to win the championship.
Dude, listen, bro. Oregon,
Comes down.
They got some track stars. So does Ohio State. I believe it's going to be an up and down. Hey, you miss a tackle, see you later. It's gone. Hey, man, we're going to wrap it up. Listen, real quick, college football trash talk. We got Sarah Austin /F9 that commented on the show. Hey, brilliant this week. But, I would say I agree with the picks by Greg. Oh, my God.
Thank you,
And
sir.
Drew. By the way, Drew, sorry, bro. Your picks, you lost, I think, all of them.
Yeah, I think I even won. I think I
We'll
beat
see you
him.
next year. Good luck to teams anyway. Congratulations, James, on your win. Thank you. Greg, I love you. You'll always be a winner in my eyes. Just refuse to wear another shirt other than Texas, no matter what, the bet. Keep the fantastic work up, guys, or whatever. So we got another one from Artmaker, Joni. Another great podcast. Love all your trash talks, smackdowns, and predictions, except for Greg hating on Ohio State. Come on, man. Why would you do that to us? Go Bucks. Kickoff temps to shoot 8 p.m. is around 20 degrees. Anyway, guys, we really appreciate you adding your comments. Add some more. Add your picks. Give us your picks. You can go to CFB_TT, and that's our Instagram account. You can throw your picks up there. Greg and I will throw them up there, and then you guys can jump on and give us your picks. Give us who do you think's going to win?
Yeah, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at College Football Trash Talk with James and Greg.
Yes, and that they can get us on YouTube on that, right, Greg?
Yeah, that's how they do it. But hey, you know what? I just want to wrap up personally and say, again, it's been a tough week. You get to ring your bell. Go ahead. Please have your moment. Okay? And in doing so, as you all know, James makes me do a lot of drinking.
I don't make you do it. You lost 3-1.
But I brought a friend of mine. This is my friend this week because I'm the death.
What?
It looks like James. Because this is what I think.
Pour it up, brother. Get to it.
But I'm going to take a sombrero off. I'm going to crack the bottle for the first time. This was a nice little Christmas gift from my brother.
Nice.
Yeah, so for all you tequila drinking fools out here, I'm going to unleash what is... Wow, that smells just...
Is it a Blanco or Reposado? It's a Blanco.
Yeah, it's a Blanco.
Blanco.
So to you, my brother, I enjoy every week with you, our guests, our friends, our family. To you and all, have a beautiful, I hope your Christmas was just lovely and beautiful, and may your new year be even brighter and better in the future of 2025. Here we go.
Anthony, our producer, thank you very much. Anthony. Guys, we will see you soon. A happy new year to everyone. We will see you on the next one. We're going to be in the new year of 2025. It's going to be a great year for everybody. Everyone, this is going to be a great year for all of us. God bless all of you. Love you. And we will remember, add your comments. Pick your teams. Go Buckeyes.